When done right, marketing can catapult a company to unprecedented heights. However, when it goes wrong, the repercussions can be catastrophic. In this video, we delve into some of the greatest marketing disasters of all time, examining the missteps, miscalculations, and misunderstandings that led to these monumental failures. We begin with Coca-Cola's disastrous new Coke. In April 1985, Coca-Cola made a decision that would go down in marketing history as one of the greatest blunders ever. They changed the formula of their flagship product. Dubbed New Coke, the new formula was introduced to compete with the sweeter taste of Pepsi, which was gaining market share. The company spent $4 million on research and taste tests involving 200,000 consumers, who preferred the new taste over both the old Coke and Pepsi. However, what Coca-Cola failed to consider was the deep emotional and cultural attachment consumers had to the original formula. The backlash was immediate and intense. Within weeks, thousands of phone calls and letters flooded Coca-Cola's headquarters, demanding the return of the original formula. Protest groups formed, the most notable being the Old Cola Drinkers of America, which garnered media attention. The disaster culminated in a public relations nightmare. Just 79 days after the launch, Coca-Cola announced the return of the original formula, rebranded as Coca-Cola Classic. Despite the failure, the incident had a silver lining. Sales of Coca-Cola surged, and the company regained lost market share, leading to speculation that the fiasco was a clever marketing ploy. So was New Coke a failure or a marketing ploy? We'll probably never know. Pepsi, however, left no room for such doubts. In April 2017, Pepsi released an ad featuring Kendall Jenner that aimed to portray a message of unity and peace amidst social protests. The ad showed Jenner leaving a photo shoot to join a protest, where she diffuses tension by handing a police officer a can of Pepsi. The campaign was almost immediately met with widespread backlash, with critics accusing Pepsi of trivializing serious social justice movements like Black Lives Matter. The backlash was swift and severe. Social media exploded with negative reactions, accusing Pepsi of exploiting social issues for commercial gain. Prominent figures and organizations lambasted the ad, and within 24 hours, Pepsi pulled it and issued an apology, admitting they had missed the mark. The ad's failure lay in its lack of sensitivity and awareness. Speaking of awareness, or rather the lack of awareness, we can't help but mention the Ford Edsel, the car that nobody wanted. The Ford Edsel, introduced in 1957, is often cited as one of the most spectacular failures in automotive history. Ford invested $250 million into the development and marketing of the Edsel, confident that it would revolutionize the market. However, the car was a disaster from the start. The Edsel was marketed as a car of the future, but when it finally launched, it was met with widespread derision. The design was considered unattractive, the price was too high, and the performance was subpar. Additionally, the economy was entering a recession, and consumers were tightening their belts. Ford had projected sales of 200,000 units in the first year, but sold only 64,000. By 1959, the company had lost $350 million, equivalent to over $3 billion today, and discontinued the model. The failure of the Edsel was attributed to a combination of poor market research, bad timing, and an overhyped launch that failed to deliver. Despite the significant investment and promotional efforts, the Edsel did not resonate with consumers, marking a significant misstep in Ford's history. However, $250 million for the development and marketing of a car doesn't seem that crazy compared to one of the costliest flops of McDonald's. In the mid-1990s, McDonald's sought to appeal to a more sophisticated adult palate with the introduction of the Arch Deluxe. The company spent an estimated $200 million on the product's development and marketing, making it one of the most expensive product launches in McDonald's history. The Arch Deluxe was intended to be a premium burger, featuring higher quality ingredients and a more complex flavor profile. However, the campaign failed to resonate with McDonald's core customer base. The marketing, which depicted children turning up their noses at the burger while adults savored it, confused and alienated consumers. Sales were dismal, and the Arch Deluxe was quietly discontinued. The failure highlighted the risk of deviating too far from a brand's established identity and customer expectations. McDonald's learned the hard way that its strength lay in simplicity and familiarity, not in trying to compete with upscale dining options. Another classic misstep came from none other but Heinz, the famous ketchup manufacturer. In the year 2000, Heinz attempted to revolutionize the ketchup market with the introduction of EZ Squirt, a line of brightly colored ketchups aimed at children. Available in unconventional hues like green, purple, and blue, the product was designed to make mealtime more fun and engaging for young consumers. Initially, the novelty generated excitement, and sales spiked. The company aggressively marketed the product, hoping to capture the imaginations of both children and parents alike. However, the enthusiasm was short-lived. Parents soon found the colored ketchup unappetizing and impractical. The artificial dyes not only stained surfaces and clothing, but also clashed with the natural expectation of what ketchup should look like. Children, after the initial novelty wore off, lost interest as well. The product's vibrant colors could not compensate for the off-putting visual disconnect from traditional ketchup. By 2006, the excitement had completely dissipated, and Heinz quietly discontinued the EZ Squirt line due to declining sales. The financial loss, estimated at around $15 million, was a stark reminder that novelty alone cannot sustain a product's success. The colorful ketchup experiment remains a vivid example of how even the most well-intentioned marketing strategies can fail spectacularly. And if you think that green ketchup causes confusion, imagine what happened when the toothpaste manufacturer Colgate introduced their frozen dinners. In the 1980s, Colgate, a brand widely recognized for its oral hygiene products, ventured into an unexpected market: frozen dinners. The launch of Colgate kitchen entrees aimed to diversify the company's product line and capitalize on the convenience food trend. This move, however, resulted in one of the most notable marketing failures in history. The core issue was brand association. Colgate was synonymous with toothpaste and dental care, creating a significant disconnect for consumers when they saw the brand on frozen food packaging. This dissonance made it difficult for the target market to accept Colgate as a food brand. Despite the company's efforts, including marketing campaigns and strategic distribution, the product failed to gain traction. Consumers could not reconcile the idea of a toothpaste brand offering frozen meals, leading to poor sales and negative reception. The lack of consumer acceptance led to the quick withdrawal of Colgate kitchen entrees from the market. Another classic brand mismatch came from the American clothing and accessories retailer Gap. In October 2010, Gap unveiled a new logo as part of an effort to modernize its brand image. The new design, a minimalist blue square with a simple font, replaced the iconic blue box logo that had been synonymous with the brand for over 20 years. The redesign was met with immediate and overwhelming backlash from customers and designers alike. Critics argued that the new logo lacked character and failed to reflect Gap's heritage. Social media was flooded with negative comments, and within a week, Gap reverted to its original logo, admitting they had made a mistake. The failed redesign cost the company millions and highlighted the importance of customer loyalty and the emotional connection people have with long-standing brand symbols. While customer loyalty is very important, understanding customer needs is even more crucial, and Sony learned this the hard way. In the late 1970s, Sony introduced the Betamax video cassette format, which was technically superior to the competing VHS format in terms of picture quality. However, Betamax tapes could only record 1 hour of video, compared to the 2 hours offered by VHS tapes. This limitation proved crucial in the flourishing home video market. Sony's decision to keep the Betamax format proprietary, while VHS was licensed to multiple manufacturers, also hindered its adoption. Consumers favored the longer recording time and wider availability of VHS. By the mid-1980s, VHS had become the dominant format, and Betamax faded into obscurity. The Betamax failure illustrates the importance of understanding consumer needs and the benefits of open standards in technology markets. Superior technology does not guarantee success if it fails to align with consumer preferences and market dynamics. However, this Sony failure pales in comparison to Calvin Klein's ad campaign, which even drew a reaction from the President of the United States. In the mid-1990s, Calvin Klein launched its controversial Heroin Chic campaign, featuring wayfish models in dimly lit, grungy settings with a stark and edgy aesthetic. The campaign sought to capture a raw, rebellious spirit, but it quickly drew widespread criticism for glamorizing drug addiction and unhealthy body images. Public figures, including then-President Bill Clinton, condemned the campaign, arguing that it promoted dangerous and irresponsible lifestyles. The backlash was immediate and severe, with media outlets and advocacy groups decrying the imagery as promoting heroin use and contributing to the growing epidemic of eating disorders. The backlash led to significant public relations damage for Calvin Klein. The brand eventually pulled the ads and shifted its marketing strategy to avoid further damage to its brand reputation. Insensitivity in advertising could cause huge problems and a serious backlash from your fan base, and Snapchat learned this at firsthand. In March 2018, Snapchat ran an ad for the game Would You Rather that asked users if they would prefer to slap Rihanna or punch Chris Brown, referencing the 2009 domestic violence incident between the two celebrities. The ad sparked immediate outrage for its insensitivity towards domestic violence. Social media users and public figures condemned the ad, accusing Snapchat of trivializing serious abuse issues. Rihanna herself responded, criticizing Snapchat for shaming victims of domestic violence and encouraging her followers to delete the app. Her statement garnered significant media coverage, amplifying the backlash. The public outcry led to a sharp drop in Snapchat's stock price, which fell nearly 4%, erasing around $800 million in market value. Snapchat quickly removed the ad and issued an apology, claiming it had been approved in error. However, the damage was done. Trends and consumer preferences can change rapidly, and even the biggest brands can falter. Whether it's failing to recognize the emotional attachment consumers have to a product, misreading social cues, or diverging too far from a brand's core identity. Which marketing disaster do you think was the easiest to avoid? Comment down below. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to subscribe and hit the like button. Thank you for watching.